Hello, everybody, and welcome to our first live writerly conversations. Thank you to everyone who is here waiting. Thank you for people who are going to show up and watch it again from the beginning. And thanks to people who missed the whole thing but are watching on the replay. We appreciate you. So please don't forget to smash that like button and leave a comment, even if it's just to say, oh, hold on, y'all.
I was like, it's not me. I muted everything.
Listen, y'all know I don't do lives much, so I'm constantly the new girl every single time I do a live because it's always been so long. But anyway, if you're watching on the replay, and if you're watching now, don't forget to smash that like button and leave a comment down below, even if it's just I'm here. But I will let my lovely co-host introduce herself.
Hey, everybody. I'm Cachet. My channel. We just talked about this.
It's every time.
Every time. My name is Cachet. My channel is Shay with the Hobbies. I write short stories, poetry, and the occasional blog post. And yeah, I'm excited today. June has been a great debut month for Black women. I've been excited. So I've been looking forward to this all month long.
And we love that. And I'm sure you already know this, but this is my channel, Britt Riderly. I am that Britt Riderly. This is a book and author tube. This is my book and author tube, where I talk about the intersections of literature and culture and share original content like poetry. So right now I'm on a summer schedule, so I'm only doing like 1 to 2 videos a month. This is that one video for the month of June, but next month is my platform anniversary. It's been a year on July 7th, right? That's so crazy. So I actually need to do my like anniversary author tube or booktuber tag, whatever. So that'll be up there in July, and so will my monthly honest tea writing vlog. So anyway, if you're new to my channel, welcome. Thank you so much for hitting that button and watching us. Click around the other videos. If you like the flow, then smash that big red button and we can be internet friends. But let's get into this pot of amazing. So we did 2 buddy reads this month, Cachet and I. We read The Other Black Girl by Zakiya Harris and Blood Like Magic by Liselle Sambury. So we're going to talk about both of those. We're going to try to be out of here in an hour, but we'll see. So starting with The Other Black Girls, Cachet, thoughts?
Okay, so as a reader, the story gave me like so much anxiety, so much anger. Like I was feeling things. I was like, okay, okay, y'all. I realized that I can be kind of judgmental of characters. I feel like, and I only feel like this because whenever I start to complain about a character and I watch Britt's face, I'm like, okay, maybe I'm a little bit more judgmental than I need to be. So I try to be like understanding, but like Nella, I just like the whole time I read her, I was like, is something off about you? Like Hazel is definitely like bad vibes all the way, but you ain't giving me good vibes either. So, and like the whole time I was like, I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, I know it's something with you. Like, I just know that it is. And there were times where I was like, ooh, can I be in this girl's head any longer? And luckily, there were 3 other points of view. And so like right when I'd be like, okay, I gotta pause, the next point of view would come and I'd be like, oh, okay, no, let me keep reading. Okay, what's going on? Okay. So I feel like for me as a reader, it was definitely like an up and down like roller coaster. Like, oh my gosh, like Nella would do something, I'm like, I feel you. And then she'd do something and I'd be like, I know I'm supposed to be on your side, but I'm like not on your side right now. I'm just not. So yeah, but as a writer, I loved it. As a writer, I was like, yo, give me a good anti-hero. Like, please, can we have a protagonist that's an anti-hero? I enjoy them. And I think she did a great job with Nella. I will say that like reading the book, at the end I was like, I could totally read a book about the older people in the story, because like I still don't know what all happened in that. Like we got like tidbits of it, but I'm like, could I get a book about Diana and Kendra? Because like I'd read that. Like I'd read that. So that's my like overall thoughts.
100%. And there will be spoilers, but we will put up a spoiler banner before the spoiler and put up a spoiler over banner when it's done, so that y'all can mute and like skip forward until you see the no more spoilers banner if you have not read these books yet and they are on your TBR. I'm not. I know that I have not written up my reviews for either of these books. I am going to, because I believe that reviewing is a great thing to do to support Black writers. So I'm gonna write up a review, but because I have not written a review, we just finished Blood Like Magic really like yesterday or the day before. I'm still processing, so we're not gonna be like giving our ratings. We're just talking about the books as generative and valuable. For conversation. So reviews will come later, but with whatever their rating ends up being, these books are incredibly generative and well written.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely think the writing in both were like great.
Tight.
Like
so
no
solid.
matter how I felt about like characters or like the story or whatever, I couldn't find fault with the way they told the story. I loved both of them. I felt like I was immersed in both people's worlds. I legit felt like I was in their heads, like I was following them, and it got annoying. Like not like that's how good it was. Like it was like, oh, I don't want to be in your head no more.
It was really great. And as someone who was writing a book with multiple characters, I found both of these books really instructive, because at no point did it feel overwhelming how many characters there were, even though we had 3 or 4 different POVs in the other Black girl.
POVs in the other Black girl, and then in
just multiple characters and Blood Like Magic who were very consequential. Right, because Boyd has a big family. So we'll talk about that later. But both of these books so tight in their writing, and definitely just worthy of a reread, just to see like, okay, this did not feel like a lot. What went into that? So definitely, if there are any writers watching now or on the replay, and you are plotting a book that has multiple POVs or has a big community, certainly these are good books to read for ways to immerse without overwhelming.
And they both do a good job of like flashbacks and multiple timelines.
Yeah.
So if that's something else that you are trying to incorporate, like those, I think they are good for that as well.
100%. As a reader for the other Black girl, I was, first of all, let me say, as a writer like Shay, I was like, I am like rather reflecting, because I was reading it as a reader and I was very annoyed. I was very, very annoyed. But then as a writer, talking with Shay, I was like, this is, like I said, incredibly generative. And the ending, even though some parts of it, actually, for me, now, Shay has a different level of intuition with reading. But for me, I have my own intuition, and I did not see that coming. And part of why I didn't see it coming was because Zakiya Harris does not, in the other Black girl, subscribe to the most used positive arc of a character where at the end somehow they turn the beat around. That isn't what happened. And I'm going to put up the spoiler banner. I'm so glad I remembered.
I was like, okay, let me. Oh, she got it. She got it.
Spoiler. So as a reader, I don't like books that don't turn out for the best for the protagonist. And Nella turns into the other Black girl. She turns in, and they call them the OBGs, other Black girls. Nella turned into Hazel, who Shay was mentioning. Hazel's the other Black girl at first, who like she and Nella have this like frenemy thing going on, and Hazel's a bit shady professionally and personally, and we're supposed to not like her, even though sometimes I was like, what Hazel did that wasn't actually wrong, it's just annoying to you, but that's your fault. But Nella ends up turning into another Black girl in the end, and I was just like, what? She didn't overcome evil forces and transform for the better. She does not. But as a writer, I think that the ending that Zakiya Harris picked was more honest. And Cachet brought up an amazing point, so I'll let her say it. But the point you were making, Cachet, about her pro-black politics and that ultimately being her downfall. So should I put the banner down? Are we done with spoilers, or should I leave it up? Leave it up, because you're talking about
leave it up. So what I had said to Britt was like, the reason that I like the ending was because it shows that there is a difference between being pro-black and being pro-self, and you just happen to be black, because that is legitimately who Nella was in the story. Like, the interesting part about her is that, like, throughout the story, she does things and you're like, I mean, but for this to bother you as much as you say it does, your reaction doesn't let anybody know that it bothers you. And then there were things where, like, she would be mad at Hazel, and like Britt said, like, you'd be like, but Hazel isn't really wrong in what she did. Like, I know you don't like that she did it, and it is coming off shady, but we're also in your head, so that's part of the reason why we see it so shady. But like, and so it touches on, I feel like it touches on that, the difference between being pro-black. And one thing that I feel like I said to Britt, and I know I said to Abby when we were discussing it, was that I feel like for Nella was pro-black when she was the only black person there. And then when she was no longer the only black person there, it was about, I need to be better than this other black person. And that it took away, once that became her focus, she didn't care about anything that had to do with black people. Like, it completely went by the wayside. And I think that was, I feel like that was part of the conversation that the book was wanting to have, was about like that, especially with when you find out about Hazel and everything. Like, it's like, just because you do good things and you talk about a killing and you post it on your Instagram doesn't mean that you actually care about black people as a whole. And I think that was one of the most like important elements of the story.
Yes, and Abby said it perfectly. Nella is pro Nella.
Very true.
Nella is pro Nella, and that's just that. For those who are in the chat now or who are watching and who have not read The Other Black Girl, I'm going to read the summary really quick, and this is from Goodreads. 26-year-old editorial assistant Nella Rogers is tired of being the only Black employee at Wagner Books. Fed up with the isolation and microaggressions, she's thrilled when Harlem-born and bred Hazel starts working in the cubicle beside hers. They've only just started comparing natural hair cream regimens, though, when a string of uncomfortable events elevates Hazel to office darling, and Nella is left in the dust. Then the notes begin to appear on Nella's desk. Leave Wagner, now. It's hard to believe Hazel is behind these hostile messages, but as Nella starts to spiral and obsess over the sinister forces at play, she soon realizes that there's a lot more at stake than just her career. A whip-smart and dynamic thriller and sly social commentary that is perfect for anyone who's ever felt manipulated, threatened, or overlooked in the workplace. The Other Black Girl will keep you on the edge of your seat until the very last twist. And I can certify that, because I was not expecting that ending. And it definitely went down the way it went down.
Spoiler banner still up.
Oh, we're done with the spoilers, I think.
yeah. I saw Abby's comment, and then I like put my finger up. I was like, she's not on.
I was on a different page.
So never mind. Never mind.
Thank you, Abby. Help me along.
Right. Because I completely forgot about it too.
Well, I wasn't sure if we were done with it yet, so I was like.
Well, you were reading the summary, and so like if they wanted to hear the summary, it was in the spoiler.
It would have been muted.
Right. So that was why. Yeah, that's sorry. Well, no, for Lizelle's book, we'll do the
right. So, listen, we're finding our way. It's the first live. Usually, I edit everything like this out.
This is our first time, y'all. Thank you.
Bear with us.
Okay, so I want to talk about the things about The Other Black Girl that I just did not like or that made me feel a certain type of way. And it goes along with there's not a happy ending for the protagonist. But I also felt like there was no positive ending for anybody. And that I hated, but it also was what I was saying about like I would be grateful for a Kendra Diana book, because at the end, the person I felt the most bad for was Kendra. I was like, why? Like I just hated how her character was done. And so like that was like something that was like a sore point for me. Also, the like involuntary versus voluntary, like consent is not just about sex. Like there's other things that you need to get people's consent about, and I felt like that was glossed over in the conversation. I felt like I already knew that I edited or not edited. I already knew that I didn't like Nella, but I lost a lot of respect for Nella and the fact that she made her choice, but she didn't allow for other people to be able to make theirs because she didn't share the information once she found out. Like she didn't do what she said she was going to do. And it's like, that's fine that you chose to do that and take that and whatnot. But I feel like you should let people have their choice. It's not a choice I would ever make, but I did like the consent part of it was something that definitely like I didn't like.
Yeah, for me too. And I think the point that Shay brought up via one of her friends, it was powerful, right? Because we talk about anytime, and I don't think this is a bad thing, this is no shade whatsoever, because it's true and it happened. Anytime something happens with health and medicine, and the conversation comes up about the lack of trust between Black people in the medical community, we will bring up, and we can bring up, a slew of infractions on the medical community's part against Black people, using us as test subjects against our will, taking bodies, stealing bodies, even after death, like digging them up, robbing great, that sort of thing. Tuskegee, like there's a list, and there are books about these lists, right? So it's a long and violating history. But even though it's a Black woman that made this hair serum thing, which I'm like, why? I don't like that a Black woman. Dadgummit. I hope that, well, you know, I hope that no one gospel and they were like, wait. Okay. I don't like that a Black woman made that serum and we don't see, I would have liked her perspective as well.
Right, because you don't see why she made that.
Right.
You don't see what put her in a position to do that. And I feel like that is it brings me back to like the issues I had with Black Buck. Like I don't like that we show other Black people as being villains and not showing what made them make those decisions. Like this hair grease was for them a solution to a problem.
Right.
That's why it was created. And I felt like it was, I felt like not knowing why and what made her want to tell Diana and what made them want to just involuntary give it to people. Like it was just so many things that was like, how did this transform into what it was?
Right.
And the medical comment, shout out to Abby. That was her, the lack of medical comment. Yeah, she was like, it was like a medical trial. And I was like, I had never even put it in the medical aspect, but that's so true because like chemist, like she worked in like pharmaceuticals, like this was a thing that she did. And so like I didn't like that it didn't give that, because it does give you that it was Diana who was like, well, I felt bad because when I wouldn't give it to people, those people lost their jobs and then their families didn't have money. So then that made me feel like, well, it's my duty to do it. And it's like, so are we not going to talk about the world that makes you feel like you have to force people to assimilate to something against their will?
Against their will.
Because you think it's going to give them the better life. And what it doesn't give them the better life, it gives them a numbness to the life they have.
Right. It's like drinking.
Right. Like it's
You're
not like
just numbing. Like it's not.
it's so kin to alcohol. So kin to alcohol. Like
Yeah, I'm like it's like drinking. It changes your personality. It isolates you from your family. It
right.
makes you aggressive to anyone questioning you. It makes you manipulative to further this chemical addiction you now have to this hair grease. Like it's addictive. And I that's the thing. I think it's generative from a writing perspective. As a reader, I was like, but
yeah.
can we know more? Like we already have multiple perspectives. I would like a perspective on the scientist that made this and what happened for her. Like, what was her origin story? Because like she's the one that started this, and I would also like, as she said, like to know why she chose Diana. That's kind of random. Like you're in publishing. What makes you the hot spot, like the perfect fence or corner girl to do this?
Right,
Like
the odd part was that like Kendra was there first. Like Kendra had the job and was the agent and was in
right,
publishing.
right.
And that like
And the black girl that went to Howard was the one you wanted to fence this product?
right. And yeah, so it was so much that I was just like, there's so much in this, especially like as they talk about like the more iterations of the grease they made, the more aggressive it made the women into where then it was a free-for-all where they're like fighting against each other to keep people down. Like that became a side effect that they didn't want to help the other people. They wanted to be the only black girl. And that was like another thing. And I think that it was, the book has so many different commentaries or so many different trains of thoughts on so many different things in our community that we don't talk about enough or with enough nuance when we do talk about it, that we're not acknowledging all the different things that like are accompanied with it, right? Like so like the story at first it comes off like a all skin folk and kinfolk conversation, but then it goes even deeper into that because then you realize not everybody who is on this side of wrong even chose to be on that side of wrong. Like so that's that too, right? Like I don't know, it reminded me so much of like how with the opioid crisis, we can talk about the things that made the opioid crisis a thing, but we don't want to talk about the things that make the crack epidemic a thing. Like somehow we can understand the different circumstances that made this happen, but we can't understand the circumstances that made crack happen. It's like, that's how I felt about this situation in the book. Like I was like, we're not talking about the situations that made this grease necessary. We're not talking about the situations that made somebody turn on their childhood best friend. Like completely. It just
But we don't. But that was juxtaposed in the book, like that with that white writer who had a book about the opioid crisis, and how he had this black character. What was her name? Chartreuse.
Chartreuse or something stupid like that.
Chartreuse. It was a mispronunciation of chartreuse, which is incredibly demeaning. And so it was, the book sort of paralleled that in a way, like the juxtaposing of the actual opioid crisis and this grease functioning as some sort of shadow opioid for black people, right? Not even just black women, because then the YouTuber, right, they give it to him at the end. Well, Hazel gets to him and gives it to him at the end. So it's just circulating. And I think that maybe that is what part of what Zakiya Harris is saying is like, that's not a conversation that we have all the time. We talk about the symptoms, but we don't talk about what makes people go to such lengths to be numb to it. We don't talk about what people feel they have to lose from speaking up. Because even though I found Nella annoying and whiny and hypocritical,
very hypocritical.
when she was in that space of like having to have the conversation with the right writer who was writing about this opioid crisis and had an incredibly stereotypical and racist representation of a black woman, and whom he named Chartreuse,
And she had like
Because she
7
was wearing
kids
a
or something.
chartreuse dress when she gave birth.
Right. She had like 7 kids. And then there was like Don Trillion, or like just the names that he chose to give people. Like it just was like,
It was just stereotypical
it was a
everything.
caricature in a book.
Exactly. The book was a caricature trying to be deep. And Nella was gonna call him on it and sort of did in a fumbly way that I found ineffective and deleterious to your argument. But she did. And I had to recognize and be honest about the fact that even though I find Nella's fumblingness and awkwardness and clumsy way of trying to be pro black in a white space, I understood her hesitation and her caution because you still have to work there, because you have to weigh, when am I gonna just eat that so I can stay here and be here for the writer, so I can be Kendra, so I can be here for that black writer and fight for them. Like, how much do I eat? Because it's not gonna make a difference anyway. It's just gonna harm me. And then when do I have to say no, no, no? I'm not gonna be a part of a project that does this. And it's hard sometimes when you eat and you eat and you eat and you have to decide, when you finally decide to push that plate away, you kind of have forgotten what it is and how to say certain things. And so I did appreciate the honest representation of that, because we like to pretend or represent being pro-black as some eloquent and articulate experience, and it's not. It's difficult and it's awkward to say and to do sometimes, and Nella definitely showed that in her way of navigating Wagner books, particularly when Hazel showed up, right? And she had that pressure to be pro-black in front of another black person. We see that awkwardness highlighted.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think another reason why I liked the book was the conversations that I know that it's going to start.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a really big thing that, like, as black people, we legitimately are always having to choose our battles.
Yes.
And as I was reading the book, and well, this is a criticism that I'll get back to, like when we go back to the things that we didn't like, but
Sure.
was that I know that it was set in publishing, but like the book could have been set in any workplace. Like it wasn't as publishing centric as like I thought it was going to be. But in that, it reminded me of last summer when the whole Barnes and Noble thing came out, where they were doing the black covers for the classics, where we know the characters were not anywhere close to black, and it was a big deal. And I remember all of us, the discourse was like, why were there no black people? Why were you? And it was like, it reminded me when we were in the scene of the book situation, that sometimes there are black people in the room. That's something that we don't ever take into account, because in our heads, no black person would be okay with this. But this is something that we don't want to acknowledge, but the majority will listen to one black voice that affirms their personal beliefs and ignore the thousands of others that disagree. They just need one black person to confirm what they're saying. Right? Like we know this with the critical race theory. They'll find one black person in some random state who don't even have kids at that school speaking at the school board. And like that dude is like, I have 2 medical degrees. First of all, nobody with two MDs or a RN or a PhD is not telling you what they are. They're not calling them medical degrees. Like, sir, we need you and your CNA and LPN to sit down somewhere. Okay, like I can't, like. And so in that, it just reminded me that, like, no, that sometimes there are black people in those situations, but either they don't say anything, they do say something, and because they say something, oh, you're calling me a racist, that's a conversation, or they excuse it. Like those are things that we don't even consider because of who we are as individuals, not realizing that, again, a reminder that we all need, being black is not a monolith, and everybody doesn't see being black the same way. Everybody doesn't live in their black skin the same way. And I think that was like, I thought that scene in the book was like super duper important. Like it really stuck out to me.
100%. Do you want to move to final thought? Do you have any final thoughts on it so we can switch to Blood
Yeah.
Like Magic?
Okay. Final thoughts. Like I said, I liked it. It is a good read. Now both books I listened to the audiobook, so I
Same.
am definitely gonna do a reread and like read the physical book because I feel like
Mm-hmm.
there's things that I
Mm-hmm.
like catch when I can see it.
Mm-hmm.
But I did like it. I definitely liked it more as a writer than as a reader. As a reader,
Same.
it had very triggering moments. Just personally, as being someone who has been the only black girl in her workplace, who has had to deal with things. And the one thing that I will say the book reminds you is that for those of us who do speak up, we don't stay in those positions long. And that's the
Yeah.
choice you have to make. Like it's a consequence for not speaking up, and there's a consequence for speaking up. And for some
Mm-hmm.
people, one of those weighs more than the other. And I feel like the book definitely showed that.
Yeah, for sure. For me, also liked it as a writer way more than a reader. As a reader, and Shay knows because I will text her at any time of the day or night and just leave her like a voice message like, I hate this. Why is she so annoying? Like, I don't have a high tolerance for annoying characters, protagonists especially, but even side characters that are annoying. If I don't feel in a fantasy, if I don't feel like you're gonna get killed off, I'm like, I can't. This is untenable. That's just me. I'm like, this is untenable. But in a contemporary, I'm like, if something doesn't happen, because death doesn't travel the same way in contemporaries and fantasy. But if I feel like you're gonna continue to stay there and no one's gonna check you, I'm tired and I have to go take a nap. And while I'm napping, I have to DNF. Like, I can't do it. But Cachet was like, no, I feel like, so I kept going. So I wanted to see the end. As a reader, when I got to the end, I was like, but as a writer, which the writer in me didn't kick in until very recently, let me be very honest. But as a writer, I was like, I also want to play with negative character arcs because I think that they can be as generative, if not more generative, of conversation. Because most of us, if we're taking our life in stages, and each stage is its own book, throughout our life, most of us have negative character arcs for a while before we have a positive one. Like that's just more realistic. And so reading it as a writer, I was like, okay, this is one more honest, two more generative. We'll read those two things: one more honest and two more generative. As a reader, I was like, I went through all of that for this. But it definitely did have some like suspenseful moments for me. And honestly, it wasn't just Cachet. It was Kendra. It was the other characters where I was like,
The
how
other
are they
characters
fitting into
really,
this?
right. The other characters really pulled the story along.
Yeah,
Like I do think had there not been any characters, other characters like viewpoints, I don't think I would have liked it nearly as much. Like because
yeah.
they fit into the parts that made me like it as a writer.
Right. So that was also it was just an incredibly generative for conversation and an instructive book as far as like craft for how to do a negative arc in a way that, while difficult to get through for a variety of reasons, does have a set of rewards for you at the end. So in that way, I think this book was successful. Was
Yeah.
successful for this difficult conversation. Okay, we're gonna slip over to Blood Like Magic by Author Tube's own Liselle Sambury. We're so happy. Okay, I am. Excuse my typing. I'm finding. There it is. I'm finding. And the Untitled Blood Like Magic 2 is on Goodreads as well. That's fun. Definitely go add that on your Goodreads at your earliest convenience. And eagerly await the title and the cover reveal. But I'm gonna read real quick the description, the summary for Blood Like Magic, and our spoiler over banner is up. Okay, cool. So Blood Like Magic by Liselle Sambury. Okay. After years of waiting for her calling, a trial every witch must pass in order to come into their powers, the one thing Voya Thomas didn't expect was to fail. When Voya's ancestor gives her an unprecedented second chance to complete her calling, she agrees. and then is horrified when her task is to kill her first love. And this time, failure means every Thomas witch will be stripped of their magic. Voya is determined to save her family's magic no matter the cost. The problem is, Voya has never been in love. So for her to succeed, she'll have to find the perfect guy and fast. Fortunately, a genetic matchmaking program has just hit the market. Her plan is to join the program, fall in love, and complete her task before the deadline. What she doesn't count on is being paired with the infuriating Luke. How can she fall in love with a guy who seemingly wants nothing to do with her? With mounting pressure from her family, Voya is caught between her morality and her duty to her bloodline. If she wants to save their heritage and Luke, she'll have to find something her ancestor wants more than blood. And in witchcraft, blood is everything. So first of all, that summary, right? Like it just pulls you in, twists and turns, like it's just amazing. And as having read it, I can say all of those things are very prominent. Like it's not like what do they call it? Like it's not like a clickbaity description where it's like, yeah, that happens, but only at the end. Like, no, all those things are very prominent. Voya has to wrestle with all of those things. So as a reader for Blood Like Magic, I was very pulled. The world building is really good. Like you know about transportation, you know about the food, like the food comes in a lot, and like Liselle is Canadian, right? So she that world building is, you can tell it's from someone who intimately knows that space geographically and that culture. So because she's Trinidadian, I believe. So that is very, very present, and you can feel it as a reader. And so that was great. The world building was so solid. I liked the family because I feel like in Black YA, when I don't see family, I find it weird. Now, it can be found family, but for you to have no family at all, like no one, like no cousin, no aunties, no uncles, no granny, I'm just like, we may not always, and no one does, right? In any culture, you may not have a nuclear family, mom, dad, 2.5 kids, and a dog, but humans are relational creatures. We're communal creatures. You're going to have somebody, even if it's a bunch of friends who you anoint as family and cousin and sister or whatever. And so when I see the NYA that there's not a lot of like family around, I find that strange. And so I was excited to read Blood Like Magic where there was such a big family. And it didn't seem stressed or strange. Like I know those people's names and their characteristics. Like I know that Uncle's always going to be pulling that dang apple, and he's a little bit curmudgeonly, but in a pinch, he's going to be there. I know that. And Uncle was not a character who like did something huge in it that made me remember him. He was just always there. Like it felt like I was in that household walking beside Voya in her life. And I really appreciated that. So those are like the main things in it that I like, and also the riddle. I love a good riddle. So in the description, she talks about like the task that she gets to kill her first love, and how she's going to give her ancestors something that she wants more than blood, when blood is everything in magic. And I liked that riddle of trying to figure out, how are you going to get out of this, or rather, how are you going to fulfill this in a way that doesn't leave you compromised? And so trying to think alongside Voya, I really enjoyed that challenge. Shay, what about you?
As a reader, I really liked it. Like I've never been to Canada, and I felt like I could see everything. I felt like I could see the house. I felt like I could see the family. Everybody felt real to me. None of the characters really felt flat. Everybody was so well represented in who they were. Like you knew what they liked, what they didn't like, even if they didn't have a lot of speaking parts. Like you said, Uncle Vasu did not have a lot. Like he didn't have a lot going on. But even both of the uncles, like the one that the Alex's uncle that you don't really see, like even when his scene comes up, like it's such a just such a good description of everything. I loved that. I will say Like for me, she was like Nella. Like she had a lot of annoying moments for me, but her annoying moments weren't as bad as Nella's because she's 16. So in my head, she's a kid. So I expect kids to be annoying to me at 30. Like, you know, so I feel like I always hate when adults read YA and they talk about how annoying a YA character is. Like teenagers aren't freaking annoying. Like they are. Because you think you know everything and you think you can explain everything. And that was definitely Voya. Like she definitely, when she thought she knew something, she just knew she knew it and you couldn't tell her otherwise. And then when she fall flat on her face, she was like, oh, I didn't know what I thought I knew. Right. Like the rest of us was trying to tell you. Like, so that and I feel like my only real like criticism of the story for me was just how often she repeated herself to herself. Like it was just like, sweetheart, I know you bad at decisions. You done told me like 11 times. Like, yeah, no, yeah, you bad at decisions. Right. And if she's not telling you, somebody else is reminding you that she's bad at decisions. And it's like, I get it. So that's honestly the only thing that like dragged for me because I felt like it was like a constant reminder. And it was like, if you didn't tell me, everything she does remind me she bad at making decisions. Like, yo. And I feel like I liked her more before she started to like Luke. Like once she started to like Luke, I was like, oh God. Oh God. Like, oh my God. Like, I mean, I guess he's cute, cool, he's smart. He gave you a little fake tattoo. Yay. But girl, for real, like your whole family, you gonna just okay. I mean,
So we can get into that. Okay. Because so first what I'll say is I agree. Voya is nowhere near as bad as Nella. Nella's a grown woman. Baby. Find
get
yourself. Please. Voya is younger. We have all the grace. And I was telling Cache, I really appreciate Voya being annoying and screwing things up as often as she did because that's real. She's 16 years old. That's what happens. And I think it's dangerous for writers to do or for readers to expect every non-white representation, especially in YA, to be of a perfect non-white person. That is not true to life, and it shouldn't be that someone has to be exceptional in any way to deserve being in a book. So I appreciated that Voya was not exceptional in her. She was exceptionally flawed. Like every wrong decision to be made, she was gonna make it. She was gonna take her time making the decision because she couldn't choose, but she was gonna make the wrong decision, almost like clockwork. So that was very consistent. But I appreciate us seeing a character who is flawed in that way and unapologetically so, or at least unapologetically written that way. The other thing is that when Voya is being told so often that she's bad at making decisions and she's overhearing people doubt her, I'm like, I see why you keep repeating it to yourself. You have low self-esteem and your family is partially to blame for that. Like they do not believe in you. And so it's hard to get that out of your head if that's something that plagues you. So even though it was repetitive, it made sense to me why that was on a constant loop in her head because it was all that she was hearing and she internalized it. And so it was repetitive, but it made sense for her character. So that was, I did appreciate that as part of representing a 16-year-old who acts like a 16-year-old. They can be a little obsessive when they have like, I'm not good at this. And that's all they're going to see. Like it's a downward spiral from there. So I appreciated that. Now this Luke, listen.
Do you need to switch the banner?
I was thinking about it. I was like, do I need this? Do I need this? Let me say this for people who are going to mute when I put the spoiler banner on. What happened, Voya, not Liselle, what happened to the original plot of the story? You know what? Spoiler banner's going on. What happened? What happened to the original plot of the story? Sweetheart, I thought you would do anything for family. And now listen, and I don't say this lightly. Why didn't you kill Luke? Why didn't you kill him? And I'm not saying that I wanted you to kill him. I'm saying when you thought the choice was between your family and Luke, you touched a completely unrelated boy who you knew was not going to end your trial. Like, that's where I'm like, you're exceptionally flawed. If the choice at the time when she makes that, she's at dinner at Justin Tremblay's house with Luke and the other two sponsored children. Jasmine, right? Jasmine or Yasmin?
Yeah, I think
Yes.
Jasmine and Juris. Like I think that
Yes.
name sounded similar.
Yes. And she's been called there because Justin is already suspicious that she knows something, because she by this time knows that he was part of the mystery of her aunt and how she was murdered. So she already knows that Justin is shady. And in my opinion, she already knew enough to kill Justin. That's just me. So when her mama, I'm reading another book where there's a mama, her name is coming to my mind.
Mama Jova.
Yes, Mama Jova. So I'm reading another Caribbean book, and there's mamas and papas in that too. Mama Jova came to her and was like, let's just end it. Sticks her hand and says, touch him and this will be over. And Voya is like, well, which him? Because she needs everything spelled out to her. Which him? And what will this do? So rather than choosing Justin or Luke, who she knows are the only two people who Mama Jova could have met, which could end her trial, she touches Juris. And that's where I got off the train. Because sure, difficult decision to choose between Justin and Luke because you don't want to hurt anybody. But then you should have touched Justin. And
Right.
what irks me is the reason she didn't touch Justin. She didn't touch Justin because that would be destroying Luke too, which, like, hint, hint, that should have told you that you didn't have to kill anybody. But I digress. She didn't touch Justin because she didn't want Luke to be sent back to Mexico to his family, whom he didn't get along with. So she touched Juris instead. It's the whole point of this is that it's difficult to take a person's life. So, but you did though, or you thought you would.
You chose a completely innocent person.
That's the thing.
That has nothing, and it was like that's worse.
Exactly, and that's what it was for me. That is a worse choice.
Right, especially somebody who, like, as the sponsor kids, they've been neglected because Luke has been the more favorite one. So him and the other girl stick together. They don't have like anything. It's just them two. So right. Like I didn't like that. That decision really bothered me. Also, like, I just felt like and I told Britt this, like, I felt like she liked the idea of family and not the individuals that made up her family. And what I mean by that is she was really big on, like, I love my family and I want us always to be together and I don't want anything to happen to us and I just want us always to be together. But that was because she didn't want to be alone. Like, she wanted everybody to still be around her because she liked how it made her feel. Yep. She didn't know virtually anything about anybody personally. Like, throughout the book, you're getting revelations about Case, revelations about Keisha, revelations about Alex, revelations about her daddy, revelations about her grandma. Like, and it's like, you've never asked them about themselves. Like, you've never, like, I know me being raised by my grandma. So, like, my grandma being in the house with me my whole life, like hers, like, I was constantly wanting to know, like, what was my grandma like as, like, a little girl? Like, what was she like when she was my age? And, like, Voya legitimately says, I just thought everything before us didn't matter. It's the past. But, like, your whole family is built on how important ancestors and the past are to y'all in the present. So I was like, oh, Voya, you're gonna learn that. Like, and I feel like at the end she does. Like, she realizes, one, she wasn't caring about everybody as much as she thought that she was and what they were doing. And then she realized that family is much more than just the people who share your blood. And I think that was really, really important. I just felt like so many times I felt like she talked when she shouldn't have, and she was quiet when she should have said something. Like, I was just like, you share your thoughts with everybody in, like, these random times, but when it, like, really means something, like when you think you done figured out what your calling is, oh, I figured it out, I'm not gonna say nothing. But like when you thought it meant to kill somebody, you was telling everybody, well, I don't know if I can kill him. And it was just like, but when you realize that kill might not be what destroy means, you kept it to yourself. And then spoiler banner. Yo, okay, so like this whole pure impure beef that we had going on throughout the book and whatnot, like when Voya broke the ceremony, the ritual for Caravana, I was so livid. I was like, one, I knew when she asked to go to the ritual, she was gonna mess it up. Like I knew, like when it's I was like, she gonna mess it up. She can't help it. She gonna mess it up. Like I just knew it. And when she messed it up, I was like, and now somebody gonna die. She already said the last time the ritual broke, people died. Like this isn't just about you. This is for all the Black people, not just all like Black witches, but all the Black people that celebrate this. And I just was like, so many times I was like, you don't realize how selfish you are. And then at the end of the book, when she starts to talk about her selfishness, I was like, okay, yes, you realized it. As long as we get to the end and you realize you weren't as community oriented as you thought you were, I could deal with it.
Yeah, because I mean, I think for that, Blood Like Magic is really excellent at craft. Like you can study that book and see this is this character's fatal flaw, this is this character's arc, this is this moment's darkest night beat. Like you can see it's very structured in that way, and you can go through and really study and see how did this happen in a way that didn't seem like awkward. And so for that, on the writing side, I think Blood Like Magic is an excellent schoolmaster in that way. Because I know that for this book, Liselle used the Save the Cat beat sheet method, and she's talked about that on her channel. How like the math of writing, although she said in like interviews and debut videos and things that like she did it. She really sort of like discovery wrote this book, so there's also that, but she did I think use the Save the Cat for this, and you can, it's really clear, so it's wonderful for that. And so when I figured out that like when you know that Voya is selfish, everything makes sense. Like so for what Shay was saying about like she likes the idea of family, that's part of her selfishness, because the thing is she does love her family, and she is considering murdering someone for them, considering vaguely. It's plaguing her at the very least. But anyway, so this is something she's considering, but she can't picture Case, Granny, her own father. She doesn't know anything about them because she can't imagine them without her. Even if it's before her, she can't imagine it. That's why she doesn't know anything about them, because she wasn't there, and she doesn't think beyond herself. It is a very subtle selfishness, because it's not the sort of selfishness that we might see in other books where the person is like, it's all about me. Voya in some ways is incredibly selfless. She is almost empathic with her family. If they are hurting, she's going to hurt with them. She's going to find the thing that will comfort the most, and she is going to do it. And so in some ways she's really selfless and she's really caring, but in other ways that take you a while to see, she's incredibly selfish. And as good as her selflessness is, and as healing as it can be, her selfishness is as dangerous to the people that she loves. And this, we've been in spoilers for the entire time. Great. Okay.
Case, let's talk about it, because I know you want to. Man, first of all, Case was my absolute favorite character, but I will say all the cousins I liked. Like I liked all of them. Like I did like Case, I did like Keisha, I did like Alex. Like all of their personalities were really good, but of course Case is her best friend and the one she's closest to. So Case is the personality we get to see the most. Case got the raw end of the stick, and I was like, yo, if you fight her, I'm not even mad.
At all. Like if you hexed her, I wouldn't. I'd be like, well, consequences.
Legitimately, if you recited her thoughts out loud for the rest of her life, I wouldn't blame you.
At the worst time.
I just like it bothered me because like Brit, it's like it's all about family. I'm choosing my family, my family, my family, my family. And then you still chose this person who you didn't even fully know. And then after you come in and see him like act a different type of way around your family and talk to you and call talk to you outside his neck, and you almost kill him, find out it was a vision and blah blah blah, but it wasn't a vision. Like, in all this time, he came to you and told you that his sponsor dad had lied. He told you he felt like he like was close to him and he had to connect with him and all this other stuff. So like you knew that he had an alignment to this man.
Exactly.
Who you know had something to do with your aunt dying. Who you know has something to do with your dad and mom getting divorced and him leaving. Like, there are so many things that situation impacted and played a part on.
And you know that Luke knows that something happened with Lauren.
Right. And you knew something happened with Lauren. And you knew this before the decision you made to mess up Case's life. And for me, I was like, I couldn't.
At all.
I couldn't choose somebody I had known less than a month over my very best friend.
And can we talk about the reasoning? The reasoning is where I was like, what's dangerous about Voya is that when she makes a choice, finally, she doesn't always, and sometimes she does, right? But in these really pivotal moments, like with Case and Luke, she'll make a decision that took her forever to agonize about. But just because it took you forever to think about it doesn't mean it was the right choice in the end. And the way she rationalizes it as, well, so what happens is, spoiler banner, what happens is, when she figures out that the task to destroy your first love does not mean romantic love, she's like, oh, well, in that way, Luke is not the first person that I've ever loved. Case is. And so she's like, okay, well, now I know that I can not kill someone. So that should make her more comfortable with destroying Luke. But she has to think about it. And it's like, well, I don't know. Luke doesn't get along with his family in Mexico. He doesn't even speak the language anymore. He hasn't been all these things. But Case, I know Case. She's resilient. All these things. And so she makes a wish to lock Case in their home forever. She does not exist outside that. Like, she was on the phone with Voya's mom when Voya made the wish. The call dropped and she just appeared in the house from Carnival. And she can't call anyone. She can't text anyone. She can't send an email, a tweet, nothing, because she doesn't exist outside the house. It'll just disappear. That was Voya's wish for her.
It was like, of all the things first of all, you could have just destroyed her internship at New Gene and called it a day. Like, it would have hurt. She would have been mad. She would have found another one. She can't find anything outside of this house that you knew she didn't want to be in. That you knew she was tired of. And
that's why you did it. The entire book, whenever Case talks about New Gene, you were uncomfortable. Because you have an insecure attachment because your dad left, which he came back. Your dad was gone for 40
years, had been back for 6. You are 16. So 12 out of, like, that's definitely like 3/4 of your life he was there, bruh.
I'm like, okay, listen. I understand.
I understand it hurt.
Right.
I get that. He definitely came back. You chose when he came back to not bond with him. And you say that multiple times. Like, you bonded with your little sister, but you chose not to really talk to him. You talk about how you don't even hug him. He been back for 6 years, bruh.
It feels like you're choosing your own struggle here. Like, in Choose Your Own Adventure book, you chose that. Like, you didn't want an eye, sure, but that was a choice. So for that, I was like, you didn't have to do that to Case. Because for me, it seems pretty clear. Like, when Mama Jova put that curse in her hand and said, touch him, this will all be over. Mama Jova already knew what was going to happen at the end of the book. At the end of the book, that's why she was trying to help Voya make the decision to avoid all the catastrophe that Voya ran headfirst into anyway.
She knew it was a trap, that you were there, that he was watching you. That's the only reason you were at the dinner, because he was watching you this whole time.
And you still aroused his suspicions by touching an innocent boy.
Right. Like, he's not gonna look and see this little boy just out of nowhere just start flipping out like he don't. Right. And like has a stroke and faces starts changing. Like, come on. It was just too much. And like, for me, I was like, can we talk about how at the very least y'all know something negative with Justin Timberlake and Nugent happened to y'all family, but y'all are still messing with this company. Right. You still trying to get your cousin to do an internship. You in this matching program, like all these different things.
Playing
you
with fire.
In my head, you knew you didn't have magic. So when you had her check to see if it was tracking anything, it wouldn't have tracked magic because you don't have none. And you knew that. Like, I just was like, and the whole time I was like, this is going to blow up for all of y'all. Like, this company is no good for y'all. How do none of y'all know this? How did none of y'all know this? And then when you find out one of the other witches is with another Nugent intern, I'm like, so you really are not asking any questions about this? This is not ringing nothing. And then you find out y'all not even 100% genetic match, that it was all a thing. And then don't you feel really stupid that you was really struggling over choosing this boy over your family? I hope you did, Voya, because I felt stupid for you. I was like, ooh. I was about, like, low-key, if I had been in the room, I'd be like, here's your face. Like, you know, you was a kid, somebody said, do it this, and you're like, let me pick your face up off the floor for you. Because that was definitely one of those moments. Like, girl.
A 76% match.
Right. Then the other part is you didn't want to destroy Luke, and he still ended up destroyed, and Case was hurt. Like, you still ended up doing what you didn't want to do to begin with. So I just was,
Bye, Abby. Thank you for coming.
Bye, Abby. Have a good night. Thank you so much for supporting. She's over in the UK, so like her staying up late was dope.
Midnight. Yes. Yep. Thank you. But no, because for me the choice seemed very clear that you could just kill Justin. Like, if you don't want to kill Luke, then don't kill. Because the thing is this, and I think this is part of what Voya had to learn, but I'm not sure that she's completely learned it, which will be interesting.
I don't think she's learned too. Yeah. I can't wait.
I think she's learned how to make a decision, but I don't think that she's learned that you can only make choices for yourself. You can't make choices for other people. And so even though your choice made you have your task made you have to think about what would destroy someone else, you don't get to choose how they respond to the destruction of one part of their future and if they will build another. Because you could have killed Justin, which would have been fine and just. And yes, Luke would have gotten sent home, and Case would not have that internship either, probably, and would probably be forced by Granny not to go anywhere near Nugent.
Luke wouldn't have got sent home because remember he was always.
Well, she didn't know that first.
Yeah, right. But Luke was
still know that first.
Yeah.
So in that I'm saying, even because she told Case, well, Luke will get sent home, but if he and he doesn't even know his family anymore, all these things, right? And so her mindset was, I know that you're resilient. I don't know that about Luke. You don't get to decide whether Luke will be, it's his responsibility to pick himself back up, whatever happens. You're not responsible for him.
Right.
But you weighed him and Case against each other and decided that Case could manage that, and not just destruction, right? Because there's levels to it. That level of complete destruction.
Right.
You didn't even try to pull back. You kept talking until you put Case where you wanted her.
That was an all-encompassing thing. Like, you gave her no way to have anything outside of you in that house.
And that's what you wanted. And that's all I want Voya to admit. You did what you wanted to do, sweetheart. And that's, I mean, it's not okay, but you need to admit it.
Right.
So we can never do this again. Because the other thing is, now Case is in danger along with Eden. It's a house.
Right. That's the other part I didn't understand. Like, it's a house. You know, houses fall. You know that for majority of the book, you've been talking about how y'all have had to fight to keep your house.
Right.
The house that you own. So it's not like y'all paying mortgage. It's legit the bills and everything else around it. If Case can't leave the house, where is money gonna come from Case?
Because that new gym would have paid for it. So that, like, it's just that where I'm like, Voya, baby, that didn't make sense. And that's where her fatal, I think, like, her fatal flaw came back to bite her in the end, is that you're okay. You're matriarch. Congratulations. Although I know you didn't want that. You definitely didn't want it to happen like it did. But every time you choose, or every time you lose control, every time you decide to stand in the middle for too long and not make a decision, people get hurt and most of them die.
Right.
Because your perspective is off. Now, you're a 16-year-old girl. I really wish that your choices did not have the power of life and death over people, because if that were the case for normal 16-year-olds, we'd all be dead. But this is where we are. And so for that, it was just like, oh, Voya. But it was consistent.
Right. It was
to her character.
She was definitely consistent the whole time, which is another thing that is like, that's why it's like, even with me finding her annoying at times, like, I don't think she was a badly written character. I think she was very good, very, very good. Both books, like, I honestly love the way the writers told the stories. I think the mechanisms that they used to get the points across and to have the conversations they wanted to have, I think they did an excellent job with that.
Yeah. And the subplots for Blood Like Magic were great.
Oh, for sure.
Every one of them was like, it wasn't like any throwaway subplots where it's like, oh, that's kind of cute, but whatever. Like, all of the subplots knit neatly back into the tapestry of this story, and it was really masterful. And as a reader, it's always satisfying when you see a kernel and you sort of figure out the import of it, and none of it was obvious where it's like, oh, obviously this is going to happen. Because even if you thought obviously this is going to happen, something else happened completely. Because, example, when she had to make that choice between Case and Luke, so I wanted her not to choose Luke, but part of me knew she was gonna go in his favor. So I got that right. What I didn't know was how royally she was gonna screw Case. I didn't see it.
When I heard when Case was like, I want you to tell me, she's like, it'd be easy if you read out my mind. I was like, oh hell, what did you do? You did, like, I just knew you didn't even want to let the words come out of your mouth, like,
because you knew you were wrong.
You don't want to repeat what you said. Oh, I knew whatever was coming was going to be bad at that point. Like, I knew she was choosing Luke, and all I thought was she was just going to end her internship at Nugent.
Exactly.
And I was like, that's going to suck. Oh, she ended it all right. And I was like, what?
It's so over.
Man, I feel like, so and to your point, I feel like I saw all the twists that came, I saw coming, but in the ways that some of them happened, I wouldn't have seen it happen in that way. Like, I thought she was gonna kill Justin. Nah, we put Justin in a robot, and I was like, this is gonna bite you in the booty in book 2. Why did you do this? When Luke is a master hacker, and you know that. Right. So there are so many times that she was doing stuff that I was like, this is stupid. When she was like, hey, Luke, could you hack this? This is dumb. This is gonna bite you in the booty. It ain't in book 1. We're going to see it in book 2.
It's coming back.
When she was like, I pledged to work for you for 2 years. I was like, that's going to bite you in the booty. Because I was like, I bet you she's going to become important by the end of this book. I didn't know how, but I was like, she's going to be real important to her family by the end of this book. And that man's going to have control over you for 2 years.
Right.
And lo and behold, you're the dang matriarch.
With 2 gifts.
That
he already wants you to do.
He's already talking about. He's already like, you could do this or already having conversations about. I was just like, there are so many things that she was like, I have to do this. And every time she said, I have to, I was like, this is going to bite you in the booty. You have to do this. This ain't going to work out how you think it's going to work out.
This is not going to work out. What I know, though, is, and what I'm like, she's going to be incredibly wise by the time she's Granny's age, though.
Oh, yeah. By the time she's a grandma?
She's going to be a mama.
Man, but I do think, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like I'm going to have like higher expectations for her in book 2, because now you're a matriarch. Like, you can't be making these royally stupid, selfish decisions.
Get it together
now, because they affect everybody. Like in that first decision, you thought it affected everybody and you still made selfish decisions. So I'm low key like, please, now that you have this power,
Yeah.
please do better.
And now that you've
Please.
screwed Case, which is a relatively localized choice, it's
Yeah, you're
just
right.
Case, and not just as
Right.
in like she
Nobody
just.
else.
But now that you've screwed up Case's life so royally, please don't do that on a grander scale. Like, let's not make Case the audition for the entire Black witch community. So I
Right.
hope that the fumbles that she's made breaking the circle, Carnival ended up getting violent again, like Case and Luke, and like all of those things, you made decisions that hurt people, and then your decision ended up being unnecessary, or rather your choice ended up being unnecessary, because once again, when you're making choices for other people, she hasn't learned a lesson yet. But anyway, so I feel like for that, I completely forgot what I was gonna say. But the point, I hope that Voya. Oh no, I was gonna say I hope that the choices that blew up in her face in book one, she remembers those when she's making similar choices in book two, and is like, I can't do what I did to Case ever again.
Right.
I can't make a decision that's like I have to be very careful when I'm making a decision that's going to affect someone else, whether it's me as a matriarch for the Thomas family or me doing something that's going to affect the entire Black witch community. Because as far as Justin is concerned, that goes beyond y'all. He kidnapped your best friend who was not in your family. She's not a Thomas.
Right.
So he was a danger to everyone, and you chose to keep him alive.
Right. And he was watching everybody. He was putting anybody who had a name that your aunt mentioned, he was trying to get, he was sending out messages to get them, to get their DNA.
Right.
Like you find out these have been, you guys have been targeted. And that's how
Right.
the other girl in the family had the bracelet and was with an intern, because he was paying attention to who was who. And like for me, I feel like the one thing that I hope, like you, that she does is that she stops making excuses for her bad choices. Like I didn't like how when she was like, I know that the people dying at Caravana are not my fault. Yes,
they are.
Period. Point blank, they would not have died had you not interrupted the ritual, because you already said that's why the ritual is done, so that nobody gets hurt on this night, on these nights. You messed that up, and you are allowing yourself to distance yourself from that decision. You can't do that as a matriarch.
You need to feel that it's your fault.
You have to feel that. You have to know that. Just like she had to distance. Like there were so many times. What did we talk about? Like towards the end, she was like, "There's not really good and bad choices. There's just options."
Yeah, when she got her gifted, she was talking about like pure and impure, and she was like, in the same way that there's like pure and impure magic, and Mama Jova sits in between that. My decision for Case was neither right nor wrong. No, it was wrong. It was selfish.
It was wrong.
It was wrong.
Right. It was
so. Which, like, even though we're saying all these things, you can see how generative the book is.
Right. It gives great, like that. They both give you so much to talk about and to think about, especially in like the dynamics of what's going on.
Right. Because Black characters are just more to talk about than someone who does everything right. Like, that's boring and unrealistic.
And how you talked about like the family is so central in Blood Like Magic. The fact that like nowhere in the other Black girl, with everything she's going to, did she ever reach out to her parents? Ever, was like super telling to me.
Yeah.
Like she didn't reach out to a Black mentor. She didn't reach out to anybody. And so like just the difference in between the dynamics of these two were just amazing for me. I loved it. I think, very, very, very different stories, but the commentary that the writers gave on conversations in the Black community, I think they both did an excellent job.
Yeah, invaluable for sure. So thank you everyone for watching.
Spoiler banner.
We're done with that.
And it'll be like, oh dang, they just spoiled all the way to the end of the video
and then left. Well, Blood Like Magic we did because it was the spoiler moments that we were like, I can't, because for the other Black girl, my throw the book moment was the end when Nella did. But for Blood Like Magic, it was her decision for Case, where I was like,
I still had like 5 more chapters at that point, and I was like, what else are you gonna do?
When I say I was so pissed, and Cassie wasn't there yet, so I couldn't tell her why. I was just like, you're gonna get there, but I would injure this little girl. Now, not as a 25-year-old me, but as
But a
Case,
60-year-old,
you will never walk the same.
right? Nope.
You
That
will
would have been
never
like,
walk the
nah. You would
same.
have been like, you hate me now. Is that what you felt?
I can show you better than I can tell you because
Right.
you
Like
will
I just
always walk differently from here
right.
on. Come
When
here.
she said, "I will never forgive you for this," I felt that in my soul. I was like, yeah.
Because I was like, even as a reader, even if I'm like, I'll move past it, I'm never going to forget that you did that.
I'm not gonna ever forget you did Case like that.
Ever. What? So, all of which to say, that was my throw the book moment in Blood Like Magic, her decision for Case. But these are two incredibly important books, and they came in hot with these debuts. I mean, they gave it to us. I cannot wait to see what happens next. How these books blow up, how these authors continue their publishing journey. Definitely check out Liselle's AuthorTube channel. It's Liselle Sambury. That's Liselle.
E.
It's Sambury, Sambury. I'm spelling it for you because I'm not editing this video, so I'm just telling you. But I'll put it in the description box also for those of you who are there for the replay. Definitely go check out her channel. Writers, her content is invaluable. She talks about her debut journey. She's incredibly transparent.
Yeah, she even gives you like her entire query letter so you can see how she set it up. Like she is definitely like she's the one of the first Black author tubers I ever met. Definitely the first one I ever collaborated with. I'm like super thankful to like know her, and I'm just glad that like her book is out there and that we got to support and listen to it. And like, hey Liselle, if you see this girl, I'm glad you can write too, because you know like
it get awkward sometimes.
That would have been hard. That would have been hard. We just wouldn't have talked about it, and that would have been it. But yo, we can talk about it. You did that, girl. You did that.
It's fabulous. We love that.
We love it. Cannot wait for book 2. Cannot wait. I even with like when I was like, I don't like, boy, she's annoying me. I was like, I gotta find out what happened in book 2 because girl, I just want to know what Case do, because Case has to get some retribution for me. Like if Case don't end up with something positive, I'm gonna feel some type of way. I'm like, Case somebody needs to rectify what happened to her.
She and I think that she will. Happened.
She don't.
Because Liselle said in one of her debut week events with JL, a conversation with JL, she was saying that Keisha is her favorite cousin, and it may be because she's working on Blood Like Magic 2, or she had been working on it or something, and Keisha plays a bigger role. And so, you know, Keisha is Case's twin, for those of you who don't know. And so maybe Keisha is, I mean, because Keisha is salty, but she's also going to tell you about yourself. So I feel like Keisha is going to really step up for her sister in this moment. So I cannot wait to see it. Either Liselle, you did your thing. This book is amazing. Definitely go add it to your TBR, add it on Goodreads, add Blood Like Magic 2 on Goodreads, all the things. Same for the other Black girl. Put it in your book club, up, all the things, and follow Liselle on her AuthorTube channel, and Cachet on her AuthorTube channel, Shay with the Hobbies. And I'll put both of those links for those channels in the description for those of you on the replay. Once again, please like and comment. Shay, do you want to do your outro?
Yeah. Again, we want to thank you everybody for watching. Y'all, this is one of my favorite collabs every month. Like I love that we get to do this and have this conversation. We appreciate you guys so much, like I said, being here live. Those of you guys who are going to watch on the replay, you know, definitely in the comments, let us know if you read either one of them. Now, if you want to read them now that you've heard, how do you think about the conversations that the books bring up? Things like that. We'd love to hear it. Yeah, and July we coming in hot for y'all, for real, for July. I don't even think y'all ready for the July conversation. Like, just be ready. In the words of what's his name? There's like 2 songs. There's Get Ready for Your Blood, like that one, and then there's the Bishop TDJs Get Ready. Like y'all just get ready for that conversation, because I like there are sometimes we have them that I get like really excited about, and this is another one of those I'm like, we gonna have that combo.
Yes, because we hit y'all in February with that interracial relationships as erasure, and people are still watching and commenting on that video. So this is going to be one of those. Yeah. We're not talking about interraciality or interracial relationships. We're talking about something else.
Yeah, this time. Can we get a little? Can I give?
Do you want to give a little teaser?
This time we're talking about Black American erasure, specifically in publishing.
We will see y'all then. Bye.